Sid, I'm Luke Ledbetter, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to come speak with you today. I'm a little bit different type of Christian, I guess you'd say. My parents, we go to church at First Baptist Boaz. I've gone there my whole life. My parents did the best they could raising me, I guess you'd say. They were both school teachers for years and years, and drugs and alcohol was not an issue at our house. We didn't do it. It was not okay for it to even have a beer. You know, we didn't do that. And that's the way I was raised. And I was that way for a long time. I didn't have any troubles in high school or anything like that. I didn't dabble with anything. I played sports and tried to keep my grades up enough to where I could play sports. But when I got into college and kind of got on my own, I started messing around with some little things and doing little things. And I started drinking a little beer here and there just because my friends drank beer here and there, and Mama wasn't there to tell me no. And so that went on for a while. And before I knew it, I had a problem with alcohol. And that I didn't know. Usually an alcoholic is the last one to know he's an alcoholic. Everybody else knows it before he does. But as time rolled on, I ended up having some problems with my health, and I had to start on chemo. And I have arthritis real bad, and it comes from my immune system, and that's one of the ways they help my arthritis is through chemo. Well, one of the other alternatives that they put on top of that was pain pill. And of course, if you've ever been on pain pills, you know it makes you feel different. You know, a lot of people take pain pills for surgeries and things like that, and that's the way a lot of people get hooked on pain pills. I myself have a addictive personality, you may say. So that rocked on for a while, and I got on pain pills. And I like pain pills. I liked taking them because it made me feel okay. I couldn't walk sometimes. Chris and I was talking earlier and was talking about a fella that I was trying to help one day at the store, and I fell. Just my leg locks up, and I just fell on the ground. With the pain pills, you know, they'd keep me from doing that. But it wasn't helping anything. It was masking what I was already hurting with. You know, I wasn't getting better. And so, you know, that rocked on for a while, and it got to being bad. I started mixing the pain pills with the beer and alcohol. And my wife, she said, "This, you know, that's enough." And without my wife, I wouldn't be here. And we have a son, and she said, "Look, this is how it's going to be. You're going to quit this, or I'm taking your son and we're gone." And I had to have a coming to Jesus meeting, as you'd say. Well, I didn't feel like Jesus was much in my life at that time because I didn't go to church every week, you know. I didn't do exactly what God wanted me to do, and I knew that. I knew I wasn't living a Christian life. But all through those years of hard times that I had, that I thought I was having a good time partying, God was working a plan for me the whole time. And see, God's plan for me was to reach the least of these. I had a heart for people like me. And God came to me, and it really got on me. I have one friend. I have one best friend. That's all I've ever had for a long time. I've had one best friend. And he was always right there with me. He didn't do pills or anything like that, but he liked to drink a little bit. He didn't like to drink like I did. But one of the hardest things I had to do as a Christian was go to him and tell him, God's got me on a mission, and I've got to do what God has asked me to do. Because I had to completely sell out everything I had. I couldn't give just a little bit, just the alcohol to God and keep the pills. I couldn't give the pills to God and keep the alcohol. I couldn't do that. I had to give everything I have to God. And I do. I still do. And I think God has his hand on everything I do. And God's got me here to talk to somebody in here for a reason today. Everybody in here knows somebody that's addicted to something or has been addicted to something. And the hardest thing I had to do was go to my best friend, the only friend I got, and tell him, if you don't want to be my friend anymore, you don't have to be. But I've got to do what God asked me to do. Well, him being the friend he was, he said, "Okay, I'll walk this walk with you." And he has for years now. He's walked that walk with me. And I watched him walk into the church one day, put everything he owned in an offering plate. He didn't watch, he didn't notice I noticed him doing that. But that was my church. That was the church we were starting to help the least of these.
That's right.
And my friend, who didn't have to have been a part of it, he wanted to be a part of it, and he gave everything he owned. Well, now he still lives in the same house. He still got the same car. Still got the power on. Still got the water. It didn't break him. God used that money to testify to me that I'm not in this alone. Well, we started this program for people, the least of these. I like the people that are dirty. I like people who that's why we call it front lines. We're on the front line, just like the military. We're on the front lines of this whole thing. We're all in God's army, right?
That's right.
We're on the front lines. We're meeting Satan head on every Thursday night. That's what we do. And I see people that are homeless. I see people that are lost their kids due to drugs and alcohol. And it's easy to get angry and say, why? Why? Well, why don't you just quit? Well, you know, I was drunk for a long time, and you couldn't just quit. It wasn't the way it worked. Every addict's thought of that. Well, if I could just quit, I would. It's not that easy. And the closest I can get you to understanding how it is, and it sounds stupid and it sounds horrible for an addict, but you take your kid and you take him to Birmingham and leave him and say, I'm never going to see you again today. You take your mama and leave her in Birmingham and say, that's the last time I'm going to see you today. And that's how bad it was. That's how bad it was. And I don't expect you to understand an addict's mind. But with that, there was a problem here in Marshall County and Boaz and all of Alabama. Alabama gives out more pills and prescription pills than anywhere in this country. Number one state for giving out medicine is Alabama. Got one of the highest rates of drug overdose according to pills. Heroin's crept its way in to our society. We didn't used to have heroin. Heroin was something they had out in California. No. Kids in Boaz High School, Crossville High School, Geraldine High School can probably get heroin right now because it's crept its way in here, because Satan lets it. One of the things I had to learn in my walk to get to where I was at was not to hate people. Homosexuality, I'm not a fan of that. Back when I started, I would hate the person. Why is that person like that? God's revealed it to me. He's helped me out through the time. He's let me grow a little bit. I can't hate that person. I can hate his sin. But the best thing for me to do is involve that person. Make that person equal to me. Let them feel like you love them. Amen. And even though you got sin, everybody sins. Everybody's got sin. We all know that. But some of the things that I've learned in one of the verses that sticks out to me that really kind of stuck with me through this whole thing was Proverbs 14:6. And it says, mockers and scoffers, bigots, look for wisdom high and low, but they never find it. But open-mindedness finds it right on its doorstep.
Amen.
Now, if you can be open-minded to somebody who's lost their kids 3 times, 4 times due to drugs and alcohol, you've made a step. Instead of me being mad at that person about losing their kids 3 or 4 times, what I do is I encourage them. You've got back 3 times. We can get them back again.
Amen.
We don't have to keep beating people down. We have a jail ministry. We started a jail ministry over there, and it's great ministry. I love it. It's just people in jails, in chains. They can't go nowhere because they can't run. So we got them hemmed up in there. Now the officers are starting to come. We've had a Hispanic officer. He's taking a time, and he said, can you get me some Hispanic literature? I sure can. I'll do whatever I can. Well, I found me a Hispanic church, went and talked to a good guy. He's a good Christian man. He said, I'll help you out any way I can. Sent me home with stacks full of books, translate both ways. But there's a fire lit in that church, or in that jail. They stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning last Thursday having church with officers. They're in jail. Peter's in jail. A lot of disciples were in jail. And this is the way we look at them. People looked at me like I was useless. And I was. I was completely useless because I did it myself. The only thing I ever did for myself was make myself an addict. But what God has done for me
Amen.
is beyond any human thing that can be done.
Amen.
Anything. We have a service, like we said, Frontline on Thursday night. And we've watched this thing rock and roll and go on. We feed everybody free. We don't got money, but we're going to do it. It gets provided somehow. It gets provided. We feed everybody free. We don't ask any questions. We don't care what you've done. We just want you there. We just want you to know you're among friends. You're among other people who's been in jail. I've been in jail. I've done stupid things that got put in jail. And I understand that struggle. And that's why I chose my own path. Now, let's get that straight. I didn't have to do the path I did, but I chose my path. But God used my path to where I may be able to talk to a drunk.
Amen.
I can talk to an addict. I got a fella that's got tattoos all over his face. I mean, you wouldn't want to see him in the parking lot. You know, he's not pretty. He's got metal sticking out everywhere, you know. He became a Christian, and he loves the Lord. He's so into it now that he's starting to learn the Hebrew language. And he speaks in Hebrew, and he prays in Hebrew. And he loves the Lord, and he talks to anybody. He said, I wish I could get rid of these tattoos and these piercings. I said, no, you keep that. There's somebody else that's got tattoos and piercings on their face that needs to know the Lord, that'll understand it from you.
That's right.
But not from the man driving a BMW that looks great.
That's right.
That's not your people. It's a spider web we have. I have people I can reach. You got people you can reach that I can't reach. We're not connected. My mama, she's got people she can reach that I can't reach. But you give me that drunk or that druggie that's dirty and smells bad, me and him, I can reach him.
Amen, Luke.
That's my people. You got to find your people. Who's your people? Where are your disciples? Who can say, that Chris Watkins guy, he's a good Christian guy. He led me to the Lord. He didn't save me. The Lord saved me. But he led me to the Lord. Because he's got disciples. We all can have disciples. And that's what that front line's about. We have a lady in there. She's I'll tell you her story a little bit because it was a testimony. We don't talk about things that go on in there much, you know, unless it's testimony. Testimonies will scream. But this lady went to jail for breaking in houses. Well, actually, her boyfriend was breaking in houses. He was telling her, this is my friend's house. You know, y'all drop me off here and come back and pick me up. Well, she'd come back. Well, what he was doing, he was breaking into these houses, stealing things. And she kind of caught on to it eventually. Well, she didn't stop it. She kept on with it, you know. And she got caught. The law caught up to her. She got caught. She had to go to jail for a little bit. She had to do these referral programs, all right? And like our place, you can get a stamp. And if you get in trouble with the courts, they make you have a stamp, and I have to sign it. And that's a referral program, saying that you've been referred to me to try to better your life in some shape, form, or fashion. Well, she was referred to us, and she was there from the get-go, right as we started the thing. And she progressively got better. She met this lady, Miss Rhonda. Miss Rhonda's a good Christian woman. She's been in our church for a long time. She likes to help. She likes my people. I call them my people because they're like me. But she likes my people, you know. We got problems. She likes us people with problems. Well, her and Holly, She was Holly's group leader. Holly's in there for stealing things. Miss Rhonda is leading Holly. She's got a group of women. They start talking about things. Well, lo and behold, Miss Rhonda leads Holly to the Lord. Holly becomes a Christian. She gets on fire for the Lord. She raised $609 just by herself. That tears me up when she did that. She raised that money by herself and brought it to my church and gave it to our frontline people because God provided. God provided. I asked her to give her testimony. The day before she gave her testimony, she found out the house she got caught breaking into was Miss Rhonda's house. You don't think God put them together?
Amen.
She broke into that woman's house, and that woman led her to the Lord. And next time she got her hands on over $600, she brought it to the church. She could have kept it.
That's right.
But she brought it to the church because she found a place where people accept her. We're the least of these. They're not the least of these. They're the normal. They're just the normal folks. And we love on them. And there's testimony after testimony. There's the thing I like about it, we don't have a whole lot of people. We got 30 or 40 people, and that's it. We don't got 200 folks. That's not us. God will provide what he provides. He'll let be there who wants to be there and who can be there. Now, he wants us reaching. I get that. And we do. We reach. We try. But at the end, it's what's there is there. We have about 30 or 40 folks, I'd say. And one of our band members, we have regular old bar band. My people's in bars. They're not used to choirs. They like bar bands. So that's what we do. We play the music you hear on the radio. Still Christian music. But that's what we'll play. And they like it. We enjoy it. We sing. And our bass player, he plays the bass guitar. He was diagnosed with colon cancer. All right? And we got up there, and our pastor, our lead pastor of our church, he was there that night, and he was leading us. He said, Jimmy, come on down. I want to anoint you. Well, he didn't know where to get the oil out of his hand. And we don't anoint. We don't usually do that. You know, that's not something we make a practice of. But Aaron hadn't had that oil for 20 years. He's had it in his house, but it hadn't been in his pocket. But that night he put it in his pocket for some reason. Hadn't had it in his hand in 20 years. But he put it in his pocket. And it may have just been because it was in the way and he just grabbed it. But it was there. And he started to put the oil on Jimmy. He said, well, y'all pray for Jimmy. Well, all these 30 or 40 addicts and drunks, the least of these, they didn't sit right there and pray. They got up and came down and laid hands on this man. Didn't nobody ask him to get up. Nobody. The Spirit of the Lord just came over them. They got up. 3 weeks later, Jimmy came back. He's completely cancer-free. Never went through chemo. Never went through radiation. Just had a checkup. And the doctor said, I don't know what happened. Jimmy said, I do. I know exactly what happened. Because a bunch of dirty, nasty folks with no house, with no clothes, that has nothing to lose but to give it to the Lord. That's what makes them so good. They ain't worried about an electric bill. They ain't got power. You can't worry about your house if you ain't got a house. Now, we're working to get houses. We're working to get power. We're working for that. But God just, it's like he just puts a little bit of extra there so they can see. I hadn't left you alone. I hadn't left you alone. I'm still with you, even though you're sleeping in a tent. I'm still with you. I still love you. And that's what we try to do. We encourage. Keep on keeping on. We got to keep on keeping on. We're on front lines. Satan's going to throw things at us that are hard for us. When you're an addict and a drunk and you give up being an addict and a drunk and come to God and you don't have a single dime, you will not believe how much drugs and alcohol you can get free. It's ridiculous. It'll come out of nowhere, completely free. Never has before. But because Satan lost one, he's going to come at one. He's going to come at you. And we watch these things happen every Thursday night. And it's amazing. And with my walk, I didn't mean to start a frontline recovery. That's not what I started. I started a Sunday school class. That was it. I was in a Sunday school class with some good people, but they didn't have the problems I had. They didn't understand trying to come off of pills. They didn't understand trying to not drink a drink. And I don't blame them for that. I'm glad they never have to go through that. But I needed to be around people like me. So I started a Sunday school class. And there was a couple that were coming. And one of our big supporters of our group now, he was one of the first ones to say something about it. He said, "Who said you could start this Sunday school class?" I said, "Well, nobody. I just prayed about it. God seemed like he was okay with it, so that's what we did." I work at the church. I'm building superintendent, and I cleaned out old dirty room, put some chairs in there. There wasn't nothing in there but junk. So we wasn't taking up any space. And he said, "Well, you got two out there that look pretty rough out there smoking." And I said, "Yeah, I do. But let me tell you about those two. They live 2 miles away in the woods in a tent. It's been raining all night. They got up this morning and they walked all the way here to come to this Sunday school class today. You live a quarter mile down the road and you drive a Lincoln Town car. Who's going to get the glory?" Just give it a chance. Now, he's one of the big men in the front line. Oh, you don't say something about that dirty person out front now. Not to him. You better not. He'll let you have it. Through righteousness, through righteousness. And even as I've been sober now for 7 years. Amen. And it's not always easy. I still have times. But now I have a default mode that I didn't used to have, where my default mode was getting mad at my wife, getting mad at mom and daddy, I go drinking. My default mode's not that anymore. My default mode is God. Amen. I get mad, I get angry, I go to God. Not long ago, I'll tell you, this year, we went fishing. My brother, he's a charter boat captain out of Orange Beach. And he drives these big, huge, nice boats for these idiots that let him drive it. But he takes us fishing. And I love those sun-kissed and knee-high peaches. I love knee-high peaches. That's what's going to be in heaven when I get there, a big old cooler, knee-high peach. And I love those things. And we went fishing. Well, I had 2 knee-high peaches with me. And I put them in the cooler there, and we went fishing out on this boat. And I thought I was going to get to do fishing. And, well, he had me taking off bait and baiting up and cutting line, and I didn't get to fish any. I worked. Well, I was hot. Well, those knee-high peaches didn't last long. Well, his boss and his friends are on the boat, and they want to go to the island. The island, you can only get there by boat, and that's where people go to drink. And I knew that's what was going to happen. And we went to the island. Well, I was fine. I've walked in bars before and been fine, no problem. We get to this island, and Satan saw a chance. He saw it coming. Now, you don't have to believe me at all. I don't do this stuff for y'all. I do it for me. This is exactly for me. Everything I've seen is for me. But we stop at this island, and it's hot. It's 100 degrees. And there's a beer right there. And all it takes is this. That's all it takes. And I could feel it back here. I wanted it so bad in the back of my throat. I've been sober for 7 years. Why am I going through this now? Because Satan saw an opening. It was hot. You didn't have anything else to drink except salt water and a beer. And all I had to do was this. And I went to resort mode. I went back to default mode. I was standing by the boat, and I just dug my feet. I dig my toes down in the sand. I was digging my toes down in the sand. And I started praying for God to take my life. I said, God, kill me right now. Give me a stroke. Whatever it takes, I don't want that beer. But that craving was still there. I wanted that beer. I said, God, kill me right now. Right in front of my wife, I said, give me a stroke, heart attack, something, take my life. I don't want to go, because if I take that beer, I'll go right back. And about that time, it thundered and lightning. Whew. And it was gone. We were on the boat in 15 minutes. I was back in my car, headed back to the house. I said, thank you, God. I thought for a second God was going to answer a prayer, though. But he saw me through it. Because I went to resort mode, I went back to default mode. My default mode was God that time. He said, here you go, son. Here's your peace. You had a little bit of confidence I'd do it. I didn't have all the confidence in the world that God was going to take me out of that position. I just had a little bit that God was there. I had enough where I prayed to God instead of grabbing that beer. And he let it happen. Now, you don't have to believe me, like I said. You don't have to believe on any of that. You don't got to believe anything I say. That's up to you. We tell people when we come to church, the front line, everything you do here is for you. Nobody's here for you except you. You're your own recovery. You and God are your own recovery. There's nothing I can say that's going to change your life. There's nothing I can do that's going to make you all of a sudden say, oh, yeah, that makes me sober. It's not going to happen. But I watch these things happen. That's why I say I do it for me. I watch people live in a tent, walk 2 miles to go to church. When I watch the woman who are breaking into the houses to get led to the Lord by the woman's house she broke into. When I get to hand that man that chip for being sober for 1 year, that means something to me. That means something to me. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. But God allows us to be a part of it. And that keeps me sober. That keeps me on fire for God. I get excited to tell people about God at Walmart. I like it. I'll find any way I can to talk to God about you. Anything I can do. Because I'm a sellout Christian. I sold completely out. There's not a beer that's ever made me feel as good.
Amen.
There's not a pill that's ever made me as high. And it's called God allows it. He allowed me to walk through the fire. He allowed me to do things just as he does us, everybody. But on the other side of it, when I came out, I was ready to go. I call myself an idiot Christian. I'm a dumb Christian. I'm dumb enough to tell anybody about it. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I enjoy it. And I encourage you, if you do get a chance, I know it's a little drive, but if you do get a chance to be in Boaz on Thursday night, we'll feed you free. If you can get back, we're Baptists, you know, if you bring up food, they're going to come. But we'll feed everybody. If we ain't got enough, we'll go get some. But I encourage you just to come be a part, to watch what a bunch of old addicts and drunks can do. It's amazing. It's amazing how humble we can be towards one another. It's amazing that somebody with nothing can be humble to somebody with everything. It's so amazing to watch. But I ask you to come be a part of it if you get a chance, and it's on Thursday night, and it starts at 5:30 is the meal. We have our service at 6:30 to a little bit later, 20, 30-minute service. We'll speak for a little bit, and it's not always me. You actually get a preacher sometimes that knows what they're talking about. And then after that, we have small group. We go in those small groups, we talk about it for a little bit. See where everybody's at. We hug on each other, love on each other. We give out chips to each other. I got one right here. this is a special one. These are just like in the military. When somebody's done outstanding service, you give them a coin. You give them this coin. I want to give this coin to you. But y'all be a part of it if you can. If you know anybody that may need our help, please send them our way. We won't turn anybody down. We don't care if you're wearing a T-shirt. No shoes, no shirt. We don't care. But if we can help, let us do it, okay? Will y'all pray with me real quick?
Yes.
Father God, thank you for letting us be here today. God, I just pray that you put somebody in our path that we may be able to tell them about you, God. I pray for the prayer requests today. God, I lift those up to you. I thank you for the birthdays, God. I thank you for the opportunity to stand here and just pronounce you, God. And I thank you for everything that you do in my life. And I just pray that you show it in somebody else's. Give us a chance to speak about you. In Jesus' name, pray. Amen.